Good evening and welcome to the Finance Advisory Board meeting of March 30th. I think maybe we ought to start off with the budget, since this is why.
Can I just open my meeting as well? I just opened the Board of Selectmen meeting at a few minutes past 7 as well.
Okay. Since my PC is not cooperating, Mike and I have just sat down and at least tentatively balanced the budget by removing some of the free cash that we had put in to balance it when we first started out, and because of the insurance money, the drop in our anticipated cost for health insurance. So at the moment, we have about $107,000 in free cash after we put money into the budget. However, I talked with Peter Durkee today, and he's at almost $60,000 over his allotment of snow and ice, and there's a storm apparently been forecast for Tuesday. So we are very, very concerned about that. So our approach right now is, again, to balance this. We left about $70,000 in free cash to take care of snow and ice. But rather than leave that remaining free cash, that would have left us with around $30,000. We put about $25,000 into the reserve account. So rather than having $25,000 out there that we couldn't access if something happened, we decided to put it in the reserve account. So if you want to...
The reserve fund?
I'm sorry, the reserve fund, yeah.
Right.
But it's balanced at whatever that number is, 29 million.
So it brings
Yeah.
the reserve fund up to like, what?
117,000.
Yeah, reserve fund's at 117. We ended up putting...
From 96.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ended up putting 203,000, was it, in of free cash to balance the budget.
How much savings?
Actually,
was
it's
the health-
194,000.
It's 194. Okay, you're right.
194 balances the budget, and there's that extra 17,000 approximately in the reserve account. But we needed to add two articles to the special town meeting. This is from yesterday, from the other day's selectmen's meeting. And I don't even have the fifth one, so we will have 5 articles.
Oh, that must be
That
going
goes
that way.
to those guys.
Yeah, it's coming around.
So we have Article 1, the adjustment to operating budget, and
Keep going, Wayne.
we don't anticipate any adjustments at this time unless it happens in the next 2 weeks. That will, we'll just pass over that article. The assessors, we had to take the 9,000.
Right.
The assessors will need approximately rounding $9,000 to add to their overlay surplus fund because of 2 settlements. They just didn't have enough in the overlay account. One of them was the golf course.
And we took this is part of the monies that we were moving around. This came from the free cash. The
Yeah,
9,000
that's
came
why
from
the free cash is from 299 down to where it is now. And skip Article 3 for the time being. Article 4, school has had $19,021 in their operating budget for a one-time payout of a retired teacher. And at your meeting with the school committee a couple weeks ago, you took it out of their operating.
That's right, yeah.
And we're going to fund that with free cash, since it's a one-time payment. So Article 4 will be, when we write the motion, it'll be for $19,021. And then we have, Article 4 and Article 5 haven't been adopted by the selectmen yet. They're hearing about this for the first time, because we only had 3 as of Monday. So they're gonna have to open the warrant, add 2 articles, and then close it.
So adding Article 4
Yes,
and adding Article 5, which you said was for snow and ice.
correct.
Okay. And how much are we going to, or do we have that number yet, or are we still playing with that?
The snow and ice number, we, no.
How can you know?
We'll see what, if we have to,
What happens?
and it's
But-
about 60 grand over
It's
right
about,
now.
it's about 58. He's, yeah.
We have enough in, the money will come out of the free cash line, of our free cash. If we have Snowmageddon again, and it happens in April, we'll be able to, we'll have to wait till fall,
Okay.
and then finish paying off at that time.
That's sort of one of the reasons, rather than leaving that little bit of money in free cash, that we wanted to move it into the reserve fund. So just in case we did run over the 70, we would be able to do, pay for it with that,
Yeah.
that money.
Mike, when do you need do you need these voted on to at least put these as placeholders on the warrant tonight?
Since this is an official meeting, if the board wants to make a motion and discuss it right now, I think
Okay.
that
let's
would be
do that.
appropriate.
Guys, if I can get a motion to open the special town meeting warrant for May 2nd?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to open the special town meeting warrant.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any,
Posted.
is this posted? That's
The
the
meeting
question.
is posted for, yes, it was posted for discussion and vote on.
Warrants.
We don't have an agenda though.
I didn't, it was posted last, 48 hours ago.
Yeah.
Whenever,
We're
yeah.
supposed to also post an agenda,
The agenda was posted, that's what we post.
but, okay.
Yes, okay. All right, all those in favor of opening up the special town meeting warrant, say aye.
All right. Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, so now we have to add these 2 articles here. So, I need a motion to add Article 4, STM 16-04 for accrued liabilities, reserve fund.
So moved. Second.
Discussion, guys?
Yes. This was the one with the 19,021?
Correct.
Yes.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, okay, motion carries, and I need a motion to put Article 5 for snow and ice for STM 16-05, which it will be.
So moved.
I have a second.
I'm not gonna second that this time. Can we have some discussion?
Of course.
I know you open it and then you still have discussion, but generally, we just move money, don't we, to do the snow and ice?
It has to be
Appropriate.
appropriated.
We move it from free cash with
Yeah.
a town meeting warrant article.
What we typically do is we give them the permission to deficit spend.
That's right.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, but now typically in many years past, we've not done this until the fall town meeting, if I'm correct. or if we-
It's both. We talked about that.
Okay,
And it's not clear that we're gonna need, we couldn't think of anything offhand that would require a town meeting. So we just thought it was, again, prudent to do it now.
so if we do this now as a possibility, we may not need a fall town meeting, is that what you're saying?
Not for this, yes,
Yes.
yeah.
I'm all for that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Well, I wanted to ask a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Boy, I feel like I'm in the chamber of the House.
That guy was
Wow.
fast.
Same thing.
We authorized deficit spending up to $200,000, is that correct?
Yes, you did,
We did with the highway surveyor.
right.
That's right. So, where's the account at now?
It's $58,000.
Over 104, so it's at 162.
That was, okay, so that was counting this last storm?
Yeah, well,
Estimate.
it's an estimate. It's an estimate on what he thinks he will get.
But the other.
For bills.
The first came out of his budget.
Right,
He already That's already been appropriated.
Oh, the 104 came out of his budget. Yeah, that's fine,
So
that's
there's only
right.
60 over.
So you're only 60 into deficit spending.
I thought it was 200 total, or was it 200 deficit?
deficit.
We asked,
Well,
we,
to spend up to $200,000.
yeah,
right.
we wanted Peter
Yeah, it
to,
was
add
just
it- when he got to 200,000, to stop and doing anything, and let us know before, so we can actually have a budget discussion on it after that.
We don't, yeah, okay.
That's-
Fine, so you're not, if that's the case, then.
Yeah, no,
We're at approximately 60.
Yep. Anything else, guys?
No.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye, okay. And can I get a motion to, oh, is that it?
Yes.
Can I get a motion to close the special town meeting?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
All right.
aye.
Aye, okay. Here we go.
Okay, and while we're still on the special town meeting warrant, Article 3, that's gonna require money appropriated out of the stabilization fund. Because we're not fully funded by the CPC. We asked for 175,000 and they appropriated 125,000. We're $50,000 short.
So Mike, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, so we had an estimate of just over 300,000, and that included a bit of a contingency.
No, that did not include the contingency.
It did not, okay, so that's the issue right there.
And
is
and that was the,
Okay,
that was the engineer's estimate.
gotcha.
We hadn't even gone out to bid yet. And the bid came in at about $195,000, at $295,000, I'm sorry. So that's without contingencies and without money to pay for the materials for Whittier, of which we've already spent $9,000 just in the first order. You know, I anticipate probably spending, another 10 or 20.
So you were thinking somewhere around $30,000-$40,000 in stabilization, or to at least put aside? Or more?
I would, to be on the safe side and not require a fall town meeting, take the 50 out, and then whatever we don't use, we put it back in
That's
the
fine.
following
Yeah, I
spring.
mean, that's,
Because it can only be used for that.
Okay, so we had the,
Gary has a question.
What else are we taking out of stabilization fund? Because I've heard at prior meetings that we were possibly hitting the stabilization fund for other things, so. any idea?
Fire truck,
The ladder truck.
ladder
Oh, it's
truck.
those two things?
that's it, just the ladder truck? That was 77,000
77,000, it's the last one, too.
until the next truck.
Right.
No. I mean, hopefully that 50,000 that's coming off the books next year can be used for the, to replace it. Was it engine 5? That's, hopefully that's earmarked for that.
Okay, so that would, and if we do this, if we take another 50 off, so take $127,000 off, what would that leave the stabilization fund at as a number and as a percentage of the budget? What's
Right
the-
around 900,000,
And what is it?
which is,
3.5%?
yeah, the overall budget's gonna be 29. It'll be right around 4, maybe a hair under.
What is the impact to our bond rating on that? And
Well,
our ability to
it-
bond at the best interest rates?
Since we're not, they only look at that when we're going out to bond.
Yeah.
And they would do a financial analysis at that time. We don't anticipate having a bond call in the, you know, near to distant, midterm future. I don't see us borrowing any money with the exception of, appropriating money, not borrowing money, but getting authorization for bonding. It wouldn't even, we're already authorized to bond Elm Street.
Yep.
So we won't be talking to Moody's until we have another large
Okay.
bond issue.
That's for sure reassuring. So you need 50,000 to put aside in the stabilization, from the stabilization fund for this project?
Yes.
What can you do? You guys comfortable with that?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask the committee if they were willing to take a vote on that, the senior center taking it out of the stab fund.
What are the other options?
Not do it.
Not do it, take a risk with snow and ice. There is, again, there's a little bit of money that we're putting into, the reserve fund, but
And about free cash in the fall as well, if we can maybe use that instead, if it comes up.
well, I think what you could do if it's taken out of the stabilization fund at the special, and it turns out that there's enough money in free cash, you can just turn around and put it back in the stab fund in the fall if we
That's what I
wanted
would
to do
hope.
that, or next spring.
That would be
I mean,
great.
you probably should begin doing that anyway. We have been raiding that a little bit, and as much as I hate having all that money sit there,
Yeah, we haven't
you
put
should.
any in
We've
a while.
been raiding a little. Probably should start putting money back in.
What's the free cash? Mike, I thought you'd said in a prior meeting that that had to be at a certain level as well. Did I hear that incorrectly? That free cash-
Yeah,
we didn't
no,
want free cash to go
no,
below
it doesn't
certain
have to
level.
be at a
No.
certain.
No,
level.
that's the,
Just the
That's
stabilization.
just the
stabilization.
stabilization.
So
yeah.
free cash is whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And what have we normally had in free cash over the years?
well, it
It
fluctuates
hops up and down,
between, you know, 600 and 300,000, but at the end of the annual town meeting, that's traditionally been our source of one-time purchases and for
Projects.
capital projects. And, you know, it always gets, you know, replenished in the fall. We get free cash at the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th. They recalculate the free cash, which is the amount of money that we have appropriated and don't spend in the operating budget, and overages in our estimates of revenue. So we always try to underestimate our revenue and overestimate our expenses, so we have some free cash, which gets certified in September, generally right before if and when we have a fall town meeting.
And we're expecting that to continue that this
I
year?
don't know.
Each year, Department heads are very frugal, and most of them don't spend their entire budget. The smaller budgets are just $5,000 or $10,000. The bigger budgets might be $30,000 to $50,000. But that does add up. And there are certain revenues that we're not allowed to estimate, miscellaneous fines and things like that. So that's, that always goes automatically to the free cash, because we don't, as long as all the other revenues are not overestimated, which we
In the 9 years
rarely
I've been
do.
here, it's been between 300 and 600,000 every single year. You can't predict that, but if you look at a run rate,
Yeah, I guess that, and we expect it, sounds like,
We haven't done
without anything
anything,
changing, it should continue.
we haven't done anything differently than we have in the past.
And it seems to me that, I think it was 2 years ago, that we had a lot of capital expenses, and we used all of it except for about $10,000 or $15,000. So, I mean, this isn't totally unusual for us to
Yeah,
to
it's new
use
for
it
me,
all. I mean,
so
it-
thank you.
there's no sense in hoarding it in a way. I mean,
Right.
it has value, but, limited. So, again, would the committee be comfortable taking a vote on taking the senior center money out of the stabilization fund? If so, I would like to have a motion.
Okay.
So moved.
Seconded. You can do the moving and I'll do the seconding this year.
I have to, there's nobody to take notes, so I'm gonna have to do
Okay,
that. You're gonna do that.
I'll try.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to take $50,000 from the stabilization fund to fund the needed monies for the senior center. Any further discussion?
And we will switch that back to free cash if there's free cash
If there's
to be
enough, and if
had.
the committee decides to do it, you can do that, sure. You can put the money back in the stabilization fund, yes. Anything else? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
7.
Now, how about the rest of them? You wanna take a vote? I mean, do you want us to vote on these before town meeting? Certainly, the assessors, we know it's 9,000. And, we know that the reserve fund is a 19,021. So if, I could have a motion on that, the 9,000, I'm sorry, on the assessors, the additional money to the assessors overlay for $9,000. It's
Moved.
STM 1602, by the way.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to appropriate from free cash $9,000 to the assessors STM 1602. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Who
And
seconded that?
Joe did.
Joe.
You were too busy
I
writing.
was writing it.
Okay,
Okay.
so reserve fund for accrued liabilities, STM 1604, a motion in the amount of $19,021 to cover a retirement amount.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Can I ask what that is, just so I understand
I
it?
think it's accrued vacation time, sick time, yeah, that they're retiring.
Buyback for the retirement.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is
And that
some-
goes through this is the way you typically handle that, it doesn't
This,
come out
this,
of
this
GP.
reserve fund for accrued liabilities was set up to handle that, yeah.
it's
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
retirement.
Yeah, it's part of the contract.
Okay, thank you, that answers my.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, okay. We can't do the, obviously, snow and ice until we know.
Article 5 and Article 1 is the night before.
Article 1's probably gonna get passed over, and Article 5 will be snow and ice.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what are we gonna do about the budget? I mean, we just sprang it on them, right? It seems unfair to ask them to,
Anything hand out?
we just did it. So,
I didn't know.
If
let's
you want
make
to take
print.
a 5-minute recess, I can print it out.
I think that.
I think, yeah,
think
whatever,
that
I
might be
think it's
helpful.
unfair to ask you to vote on it without
I'll go print it out.
seeing it, okay. I tell you what, while Mike is doing that, I had a warrant article. I sent out an email that I got from Joe Knapp about that flagpole. And if you read it, the argument he made was, first of all, that the Historical Commission is responsible for taking care of things like that, even on private property. And also, according to Joe, if it's done by a town group like that, the need for permits is a lot less. So it's the cheapest way to do it. So if somebody that voted in the winning side, which is not me, is willing to, I guess I've forgotten what the word
What's
is.
the winning side?
The last,
The noes.
the noes were the winners. Yeah, the noes were the winners.
Oh, okay.
So if one of the noes wants to ask for a revote, we can do that.
Jim, did it? I actually did read it in I didn't see any breakdown. I think a lot of the no's had issues with the fact that a flagpole's costing as much as it is. I mean, I would have liked to have seen some kind of breakout.
I wasn't prepared, but I believe the flagpole is around $2,000, and then there was $3,000 for a monument to put some words on it that we were going to funnel through the veterans as to what would be appropriate to be put there. So that's what it was. The flagpole was around $2,000 installed. The flagpole itself, I think, is around $800. The monument would be around $3,000 for the monument, and for the foundation, you know, the rest of it would be the foundation for the two of them.
And this money is coming from where again, if you can remind me?
CPC.
CPC.
It was
Yeah.
approved by the CPC.
It was approved by the CPC.
And if I could continue a little bit, I don't know if Joe had it in his email that he'd sent out, but you know, it seemed a lot of, some of the negativity was because it was private property.
Yes.
And it is and it isn't. It's what the cemetery organization really owns is the streets and things of that sort. The rest of the grave sites, you get a deed for. So it's not, it's owned by the people of the town and and the surrounding communities that are buried there. And yes, we do have some that we're still selling, so yes, the cemetery commission does have those. But the intent is, we all need a place to go, or some of us are happy to just throw our stuff out in the ocean and things of that sort. But others want a place to go with a monument. And those are the people that own them, is individuals and families. What the cemetery commission actually will end up owning is the streets. They're all, this was going to be, if you looked at the proposal that came to CPC, this was gonna be at the end of what is called Central Ave, I think it is, and it's an avenue that goes right down the center of the cemetery, and at the end of that, would be where the flagpole is. That's typically where the veterans enter and march, so in the past years, so it would be right in that area.
Is this more for the veterans that are calling for this?
So I'm on the Historic Commission, and yes, so Doug's a veteran here as well, I don't know if any of you are, but there's, if you were to have a service there and you were a veteran, there is no flag there to have a proper burial with a military service. And it's disheartening, because I know people go down there and that's what they're looking for, is the flag down there. So it's a perfect use of CPC funds. It's a perfect use for the Historic Commission as well. And it's not a lot of money, and it would be a very, very strong gesture to the veterans to support this.
Well, I'll tell you, I voted no only because, well, number one, private property, but, you know, number two, I thought it was a kind of a ridiculous amount of money for what was being asked for. But with a little explanation and reading the email, as a no, I would like to call for a revote.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to have a
Getting
revote.
this?
I gotta write this down too.
Don't be putting that away yet.
Don't you hate these amateur clerks?
I get more paper.
It's on page 6 if you want to go to the article.
And I'd also like to add, for all the money that this town spends, at the very least, if our veterans are calling for it, then
It's not-
I
it's
think
not a lot.
we should back it. Again, I think it was more for the lack of information that we had, than
And
anything.
plus the fact that it was going on private property, I think.
Yeah,
was
that's
why
fair.
are we doing so
So that's,
much
but
on
I think
private
that's all we heard,
Anyway,
is
yeah.
it was on private property.
Right.
We didn't get a lot of that
We didn't know that there was a
background.
monument.
Yeah,
or-
it's funny, 99% of the historic assets in town are private. And,
How much?
About 99% of them are
Really?
private property. Think of all the.
Well, all the homes, he's
All
talking
homes.
about, all the homes that are considered to be historic
Oh, I thought
are all
that was
privately
something,
owned,
okay.
yeah.
And we do our best to try to preserve as much as we can. It's hard. As you guys saw, the barn that was lost, right? And it was built in 1770. That's was supplying leather as a tannery to
Continental
General
Army.
Washington's
Yeah.
Continental Army. That barn was destroyed. It takes a lot of money to preserve
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
assets, so it's tough.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to rescind? What's the word?
Rescind the vote of
the
the,
vote on
what was that?
CPC ATM Article 16-19E.
Okay, got
All
it.
right, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, this is rescinding it now. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now I'll have a motion on accepting, approving, recommending CPC Article ATM 16-19E.
Looks like Wayne has a question.
You have a question before
I have
I
a
do it?
thought. This
Go
isn't a
ahead.
question.
Go ahead,
Okay.
let me have the thought.
Isn't that, my thinking is, I wasn't for this private property, and there's a lot of money that I thought for a flagpole. Ultimately, we're voting to recommend or not recommend. It's the town.
Town
goes,
meeting is-
town meeting is decides.
It's
this.
gonna decide, yes.
So
That's
my
right.
opinion of these CPC articles, yeah, we see them, the information is good, but, the 400 or so people are gonna decide whether they're gonna spend this money or not spend the money. It's not really, I voted against it, but I don't believe our recommendation should carry that. If they think that's gonna carry a lot of weight, I don't think it really will.
Well,
Be surprised.
He's asking for a revote.
Your
that's all.
your votes carry a lot of weight with my votes, so I'm hoping that you do for other town people too.
Wait, I would actually, tend to agree with you, but at the same time, when people want to vote on something and they find that, what was our vote, 1 to 5 in that much on that side, I think they would have some concern and some thought around it.
I think,
Yes.
pardon?
Was
It
it
was
more than
3
one?
to 4.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the 1-3. I know that
Was
we
it?
had something that was 1 to
I voted
5.
yes.
Okay.
Oh, well, okay. I think people think that we spend more time looking at this than they have the time to think about it. I think it's pretty much why they listen to what we have to say.
I have been in town, going to town meetings for a long time, and I know people that historically, they vote what the finance and advisory committee.
Can we have the names?
advisors- You may not believe it, Wayne, but there are a lot of people out there that do
I know.
do that.
And the bigger thing, it is on private property, but it's open to the public.
It is. And the veterans issue aside, I totally don't want to disrespect any veterans, and there should be a flag down there. I agree.
Yeah, there should, that's true. There should be.
And, I that's not my point. I mean, that's not what I'm against.
Okay.
I have a thought on this.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh,
My major concern is precisely what you just stated a few moments ago, and that is the amount of historical sites, buildings, what have you in town. Where does it begin in terms of our responsibility, and where does it end in terms of paying for these things? And I think that that's one thing that gives me pause when I'm on the CPC and I see the things coming through, and I see a statement that's saying the historical commission is mandated and required. Well, that may be the case, but we're not mandated and required to pay for it.
No, we're not, but if you look historically of what's been presented to the CPC, we're talking the schoolhouse at Brocklebank Bank, I mean, I
Right,
think
but
we've been
that-
very.
I'm not saying specifically a project.
No,
a building.
no.
We're, believe me, I can tell you that we have the same thoughts that you have. There is a limit of what we're willing to do. I mean, hence, we didn't put any money and ask for any money for that barn that was on private property.
That was serious money.
That was serious money, but we could have, for 50,000, could have at least put it in storage. So, your point is well taken, and I don't think that you've seen that we, the Historic Committee, and the tenure that I've been there, and as I'm gonna continue on there, are looking at any private homes or anything like that and saying, let's fix their home for them. This is stuff that has a public use to them that may be on private property. That's how I look at it.
Also, I'm under the impression that one of the charters for CPC is to fund historical projects,
It
right?
is.
Oh, okay,
It
okay.
is, but again, how far can that be
Well,
stretched?
I mean, that's
you're
what
right.
the committee is supposed to do, is to make those determinations, so.
Yeah, and we don't, it's not our money, so you guys have
Yeah.
all the authority to say that this makes sense or not, so.
Okay,
There
so
is checks and balances.
may I have a motion
No, Phil, thank you.
on recommending,
I'll make a
Same-
motion
same
to
again.
recommend
okay,
that we
No, no,
approve
that's for
CPC
you guys.
article on the flag.
1619E.
1619.
The first 3 times.
I'll second
E,
it.
right?
He's a lot slower than you are.
One more time, Phil.
Watch out, or you're gonna be.
I can slow it down.
I figured it out.
There you go.
Oh, you passed me papers now, hold on, it's all ready. All right.
Oh, my goodness.
One at a time. You let it-
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of CPC Article 1619E. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're good.
Very good, very good. Veterans will appreciate it.
Revenue, oh, okay, this is expenses and that's
American
top.
Legion and VFW, we think.
Okay.
Here's another one, yeah, there's one.
Okay,
Okay.
And the print is small again.
I don't think he knows our age.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Can we kill a few more trees? Yeah, just,
That's why, because it's so small.
Well, Mike, you want, as you can see, we put 194,090 of free cash in the budget, down from what we thought.
What one are you looking at, Jim?
The summary page.
Summary.
Summary page.
every page.
Free cash is down. It's 194,090. We started out at 300.
Yeah.
So again, we're digging ourselves a little bit smaller hole for next year than we had planned on.
Why is there nothing in 2014, 15, and 16 from free cash?
We didn't put any in. We don't generally put free cash into the
Not a
budget
good
like
idea.
this. Is a
Things were better.
very unusual thing for us
I
to
thought
do.
we said in past years that it was normal that we were taking money out of it.
These numbers are put into the budget as opposed to taking free
This is
cash
for-
to spend it
It's
on
spent for capital. Yeah, yeah.
So we don't put it in the budget typically, we use it.
For capital, one-time expenses, exactly.
And this free cash number is also based on the fact that we threw some money to save one of the teachers already?
That we did.
Yes.
That we did, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Second grade teacher, if I recall.
Second grade teacher, yes.
We didn't do the other teacher, we just did that one.
No, we haven't. That second grade teacher is the only one that's in there right now. And really not, but the only other thing that's changed is if you go to the top part of the, expense, the staple one. The reserve fund is at 117,000,
Yeah.
Is that on?
just
The
so that
little
we
book-
have,
the
we're
like-
able to,
like, yeah.
to use it.
Who's
that
got
with
the little
money
booklet?
we have.
Top page of the what, what,
Very first page.
page 1 of 4.
okay, I got it.
Line.
Yeah, it's the one that has the, it's stapled.
Yep.
And, where are we with schools? What we've, recommended for the schools, when we did today, because it was just too awkward to do anything else, we put the $11,000, that was a one-time expense too, that we originally took out,
11
11,000.
for,
It's a backbone for their, tablets, I think. It's an infrastructure in the building for tablets.
Okay.
So we put that back in their budget, as that was just, quite frankly, from a budget standpoint, the easiest thing to do. And other than that, nothing really has changed, other than what we told you about, that the Whittier assessment went down, health insurance went down, which is why we were able to pull some free cash out.
can I ask
And-
about Whittier?
You may.
It went down, but didn't we have a reserve fund request last week that we didn't act on?
That's something different.
It's a stabilization fund, I just wanted to say.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
that's right.
Isn't there something else?
No, you're
that we
right.
didn't-
The-
No, there was money we didn't act on.
What was that?
They underestimated
Yeah.
the assessment, and we got an additional bill for it.
Yeah, because we didn't know what it was, and I actually asked the school department if they weren't sure what it was.
No, they don't deal with
Yeah.
Whittier, believe it or not.
So, yeah, because we didn't
Well,
act on
we
that
paid for
last
that
week.
out of,
No, we didn't do anything.
No, we didn't
do anything.
we didn't vote.
wait a minute, no, I know we didn't vote on their stabilization fund.
No, we didn't
No,
vote
no,
on that
no.
either.
It was a reserve fund transfer.
Yeah, yeah.
We did 3, we only did 2 of them.
Yeah, you're right.
Because we
No,
didn't know
no, no,
what it was
well,
for.
no, because the reserve fund transfer that we didn't do was insurance. And we should have done that tonight, I forgot about that again.
Yeah, there was-
That's for,
There was 2
I think-
insurance.
Yeah, but I think we voted that one down. We voted one down and we passed over one. I thought.
no, we voted for 2 and didn't vote. We did not take a vote on the third one. We didn't want to vote on the third one. And the third one was insurance. And what it turned out to be, and again, I had forgotten, you can see there's a problem here. Deductibles.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It was
The word
deductibles on,
deductible. We didn't
on
understand what that
payments,
was all
on-
about.
Well,
That's right.
actually, there have been, there's 2 settled lawsuits, which those 2, and we have, anytime, we pay the first $7,500 in any lawsuits. One was a town lawsuit for employment issue, and the other one was a school suit, and that was a special ed issue.
Okay, so,
There are 2 others, but the school is eating them, their school suits as well for $75 each. They haven't settled, but anytime the legal expenses meet or exceed $7,500 in these suits, what we're going to do in the future is appropriate the money right then and there and not wait, because some of these suits take 2 to 3 years to
Right.
settle. And by that time, we've forgotten about it,
Yeah.
frankly.
Exactly.
okay, now I understand what the deductible is.
So it's for 2 suits, 7,500 each for,
I understand.
All right, but getting back to Whittier,
that
we got,
was an
So the
additional
611
assessment.
so the FY16 611 that we're looking at,
It's
Is-
higher.
it's higher than that?
Well, we had to pay more than the 611 from last year, from this FY
And it's
16.
really going down to 558?
Yeah, they lost at least
They finally graduated.
8 students.
That's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're not going to get hit with this again, because that seems like a really big swing to me. But, I mean, if,
It's the biggest swing since I've been here.
Yeah.
But I called them up and they confirmed it. I'm having breakfast with them next week, but,
all right.
Well, if you look historically, it's been a lot lower than that, or lower. Just the last 2, 15 and 14 were 418 and 519. Last year was a spike. And I know a few of those students are coming back or came back
yeah.
from Whittier, who went.
Yeah, we had a double whammy last year with Essex and
Mm-hmm.
Right.
yes, we did.
Whittier.
Okay.
All right, I just wanted to
You were not
get a little
crazy,
clarified
you
on
were
that.
right, there was another one.
Question on the insurance, Mike, what was the figure you were using here now, the 8.5?
Yes.
Okay, and so if there is any movement the other way, that will end up later going into free cash, or will that happen in?
Yes,
That would, yeah.
but it,
Oh,
as we
it would go in
discussed-
next year, though.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
the
be,
next-
it wouldn't be available in the fall.
Fiscal year 18,
Yes.
Yeah, it would be for 18.
Unless we,
17.
Unless we
unless
made
adjust the
adjustments.
budget.
Yeah, unless you made adjustments
So
in the
that-
fall,
that
or
was, I
even
think,
at the
one of
last
problems.
minute,
There might
if
have
it
been some
happened.
time to adjust.
It's, there's an outside possibility, you know, because we have about 2 weeks left. If I can, and I have some, we discussed it at the selectmen's meeting. I haven't had time, I haven't met with the school union yet, with all the unions yet. But there is an opportunity to change the health insurance plan that would substantially, it could substantially reduce the increase and actually decrease it if you know, in best case scenario. You want to talk about it, Jim, or?
You want me, or?
No, do we?
Yeah, yes, I would
does that
think we
happen?
should, yeah, just,
All right. This is what I gave to the selectmen, just the selectmen, last.
I think that goes that way. I don't know if I need it again.
On Adams Grove, yeah.
I have 3 scenarios here. One, do nothing. This shows the 8.5% increase, which we've already taken into account in this budget that you are looking at right now. What I need to meet with the unions about, they would have to have like a friendly 30B plan design change, and agree not to go through the whole legal process, which last time we went through took months, about 6 months. And it wasn't a pleasant process, because we have to negotiate the, what we do with the savings of the plan. And the law requires that we save at least 25% of any savings with the unions. In this case, we're asking them to forego that, and any of the savings could be used to reinstate the cuts or the non-additions to the school budget.
specifically the
Part-time,
they wanted, the place where they increased some teachers' workload from 5 to 6 classes. That was the $90,000.
yes.
So that's,
That's gonna be the carrot.
If-
They came to you and appealed not to have any cuts.
right,
Well, here's how not to have any cuts.
right, right.
But the change in the plan is where the savings occur. Right now, we don't have any deductibles. We have co-pays, but no deductibles. This new plan would introduce deductibles. There would be $250 for a single person, and it would be up to $750 for a family, or $250, you know, for a person if it was a but it's capped at 750.
Okay.
The savings are, right now, we only have two plans. We have an HMO and a PPO. During the last go-round, we actually had four, and we eliminated two of them, and we're down to two now. We also have medics for the retirees over 65. This would introduce a third plan or a second HMO, which is called the HMO Custom. And basically, the way they are able to obtain the savings, they reduce the network. It's a reduced network plan. But all the network in this reduced plan, it does cover virtually every health facility in the North Shore. It covers Anna Jakes, it covers Beverly, it covers Leahy, and it covers Lawrence.
How about Mass General? Isn't there a Mass General up here someplace?
No, it doesn't cover Mass General. Basically, it doesn't cover any of the big Boston hospitals, because they are terrible at controlling costs. They have no incentives to. These other facilities have committed to cost controls, and they're, rewarded by having lower rates. So, and in spite of the new deductibles, the savings for an individual or a family over the do-nothing to the custom exceeds the amount of the new deductibles. So a family would be at risk for an additional $750. Their 40% contribution is going down by $1,100. So they're gonna have a net savings of about $400. And it's similar for a single person would be at risk for $250 in deductible. The savings just for them is $411. So it's a win-win situation. And the town, instead of having an 8.5% increase, would only look at if 50%, see, you have to guess how many people are going to migrate from the old plan to the new plan.
Also, so for it to work, if everybody decided to stay with the old plan, there would be no change?
No savings, yeah.
No savings, okay.
If 50% of them migrated, we would drop from an 8.5% to a 3 percentage point. So we'd save an additional 5%, 5.5%. And if 100%, which to me, unless you're, you have to be at Boston or Children's or something like that. If you get all your health care here in the North Shore, and 100% migrated, we'd actually be 2.4% below last year. And just to show you how it translates, on the budget summary, before we did all our magic today, with the 8.5% increase, we actually we were $137,000 above the levy.
Right.
Now, if 50% go, we're gonna be 265 above the levy. And if 100% went, we'd be almost 400,000 above the levy. So,
So it would be 100, by the way, it'd be 135, less than those two now, because we
Yeah.
use that to balance.
yeah.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question? Mike, I'm assuming that's a yes. Mike,
Of course it is.
Let me write that down.
So the-
Assume it's a yes.
so the challenge is just from a clock standpoint and a timing standpoint. So they're not gonna, if we can agree with them, they agree not to go through a 30B. This is in addition to what they're being offered right now, and they have to vote to accept this plan. And it's opt-in, right?
To go from, yes, but it's either do nothing or you now enter into the realm of deductibles. You can't stay with a non-deductible plan. It's all or nothing.
Okay, so the entire membership would have to do that.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have 2 weeks. I'm sure what's going to happen is they're going to say we didn't have enough time to deliberate, to understand this and stuff. It's going to be very difficult to do this in a 2-week period. I'm just throwing the risk out there that the reality is that I mean they got to vote themselves, and you got a tall order ahead of you, my friend.
Yeah,
to try to-
technically, we could do this up to, town meeting. So we have,
So if it's budget, it's
weeks.
budget, but then we can adjust the budget
Yeah.
at town meeting floor. Okay.
I mean, as the budget stands right now,
Yep.
without that, it's balanced.
Yep.
And Mike, if they
So-
do vote for it, the savings go where?
well, the board, you as the finance committee, to give them the incentive to change, need to agree that the savings go back to the school budget, so. they can
90,
be made.
that's what we talked to them
healthcare's
about.
for the whole
The
town.
90,000,
And the benefits only
250
go to
would
the
go
school.
back to the school budget.
That'd be-
For this fiscal year? Or
That's
for
the incentive to
18?
get them to do
Just
it.
because
Yes.
they're the
Right.
vast majority of the
They
plans.
have veto authority.
There's so many
They
people.
are 51 or 52% of all union people in the town. And so they vote no one gets it, even if all the other unions vote yes.
When you ruled out the Boston hospitals,
It's gonna make a,
that's gonna be, I don't think that the deductible is
Against the hospitals.
it's pulling out of the Boston hospital.
Well, it would be an out-of-network charge, so it would be higher. It's not that they're prevented from going to Boston, it's out-of-network, and it's gonna be costly.
Are you gonna meet with and have a benefits manager with you?
Yes.
Thank you, because they're gonna get like 1,000 questions that I would have too.
Oh, yeah.
So what would the charges be for going to Boston?
That I'm not that familiar with
That's-
at this
I think-
point in time. That's why we'll have
that'll
a
be the first question.
health insurance consultant with us.
If I may ask a question, people have to go to HMO Blue for everybody to get, the HMO Custom, I'm sorry. If people stay in HMO Blue, are there still deductibles? And is there still
Yes.
cost to go to Boston?
No, they get to have the wider,
Okay, so they get to
they
have the
keep the
wider.
wide network.
Okay.
That's the HMO.
But
Blue.
there's a deductible,
Yes.
so that there must, but there's no savings?
No, their premiums are going up substantially. The increase for a single person making making $30,000 a year, it's going to, they're gonna look at the non-teachers unions are looking at a 1.5% increase. That premium's gonna eat up 1% of the 1.5% they're gonna receive. A family is gonna be actually taking home less if they stay with this plan, because it's gonna be
Going up
way more than it's about 2.6% of their salary. So they're
What
gonna
happened to
lose
me
a
to share work?
percentage of their salary.
If things stay
If
as
they
they
do
are.
nothing.
Yeah, if things stay as they are. I see.
It's very interesting.
Well, you
The
know,
other question that comes to me is, where was Meyer in January?
That's a very good question. It's,
December.
they really didn't start paying attention to us till I asked them for a census. And that means, oh, they're looking around for somebody else. And then all of a sudden, this new plan,
Appeared.
supposedly, Blue Cross Blue Shield just developed it.
Well, regardless of
Their
how,
story.
how this works
I'm
out,
sticking to it.
my opinion, regardless how this works out in the next 2 weeks to the town meeting or whatever, this should be done again.
it should be pursued, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
next December, and put them on warning right now, you're gonna do this, and we wanna
Mhm.
see this next December.
Well, I'm attending a meeting, tomorrow morning again? Yeah, it's tomorrow.
Already.
At, Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, the regional finance directors and town administrators in the North Shore, members of Merrimack Valley Planning, were having a meeting to discuss group purchase of health insurance.
Oh, great. Great.
So, yeah, we can't afford to do nothing anymore.
You
Yeah,
can't.
that's exactly right.
Might as well ride their cage now.
Yeah, at least
Okay.
warn them. And I was told by Maya, Blue Cross Blue Shield's coming out with a higher deductible plan next year, like a 1,000, 2,000.
Oh, this just gets better.
I have a
Okay.
question on ZBA.
Yes,
Am I up 4,000?
that was,
Okay.
Adding hours.
that's ours for Patty.
The
She's,
first. I didn't know we had any discussion on that, or,
We did have a discussion and we asked them to raise their rates, and they said they would consider it. I remember that very well.
yeah, that's right. Oh, I remember that conversation, yes.
I remember that too.
I had a discussion with them, and I told them that when Patty's doing the work for the applicant should be paying her.
They have to do something as well.
Yeah.
You can't just expect,
I agree. I mean, I think we should raise, you know, she deserves something in there, but, you know, I think we need to keep an eye on that.
To get them to raise their rates,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're just gonna have to. I think they're a little afraid to do that, you know, that's the problem. I don't think they're accustomed to asking for it, so they just have to learn how to ask for it.
just
how long
curious.
has the current rate's been in effect?
Years.
Because I remember when I was on the ZBA, we raised them. That may be the last time they were raised.
How long ago was that?
10 years ago?
I think they,
Seems to me that
they've
they've
raised
all raised it since then, but it's been a while. It's probably been 4 or 5 years anyway, I would think, since people have looked at rates.
Jim, what was the park and rec again? I've forgotten what that large increase was.
You know, I forgot too. Do you remember what the park and rec increase was? Is somebody retiring and they need to go outside to get,
Actually, they're expanding they're adding lifeguards
Oh.
at the pond, and
Fishing dock.
extending adding hours in the hopes of maintaining civility down there, primarily on the weekends, because their quote, full-time regular guy only works Monday through Friday. And so there's nobody maintaining it on the weekends. The place gets pretty, gets used hard on the weekends, so nobody's picking up the trash or emptying in the barrels and things like that
Oh,
on the
yeah.
weekend. So instead of changing the hours of the person, you know, and like closing on Monday, which, you know, a lot of facilities do, you know, that's their summer, they're closed to the public, period, on Monday. And then, but you're open on Saturday and Sunday.
Was there anything put in the budget for added hours for police, to police that area,
No,
as we spoke about? No?
no.
I thought the police department was gonna do.
I thought they were-
There's so many legal issues down there,
Okay.
because it's a it's a public road with, the road access is a public access, there's a field there, it's a beach, there's parking for the rail trail, it's gotta remain public and open. I mean, they said they'll do what they can, but we have, it's a budget issue as well, in terms of, do we spend more money on policing down there with the police? Or could we do it cheaper with having the Park and Recs folks get down there, so we don't have to pay prevailing wage for police officers down there?
The chief suggested that if we ever got a school officer, you know,
They could do that in the summertime.
they could use that person on regular shifts in the summer. But I think in the short run, in the summer, he's planning to, you know, add that to their regular patrol route.
Well, I guess that is, you know, a good start. We were talking about if, you know, people see, you know, some kind of, you know, more of a police presence down. It doesn't have to be someone sitting there, but at least someone
Some
who
coming around.
drives through, maybe gets out of his car once in a while and people see that. I think that'll at least make a difference. It might not 100% make a difference, but I think it'll make a difference. And then, you know, I'd like to suggest some signage, you know, just something to detract some people from maybe causing some riff.
Well, the Parks and Recreation Commission need to redo their rules and regulations. They're not up to date, and the signage is not up to date. It says, you know, nobody allowed here after,
Sunset, when there's games,
Dusk.
in the dusk and
Yeah.
at
but
night
there's
stuff.
no
Alright.
regulation.
So the chief is putting a committee together, and I know that he's trying to get some folks on that to actually come up with some ideal policy down there.
And if there's anything more required, we did put a little bit more money in the reserve fund. And then that could probably be used to supplement it if necessary.
All right.
I think we're gonna be looking at adding police officers, though. My concern is with the skateboard park. It's in an isolated area. Once it gets known, that could become a trouble spot.
We haven't had a police officer since 1999, I think I heard.
Is that another?
1999.
Staffing,
We have
increased
two
staffing.
full-time police
Well, they
officers.
took one away.
In 1999.
Yeah.
Right, well, they took one away, we never replaced that.
Right, that's right, that's true.
Two officers patrolling at any given time in town, that's it. And then to give them a break, we have all these reserve officers, so we don't pay any overtime detail, which is good in some ways, but, you know, if you're a police officer in town,
You know, there's not a ton going on in Georgetown. You know, I think we can add,
Yeah.
you know, to the patrol and even the skateboard park. At least at first I'm thinking that as long as they drop in once in a while, once every couple of hours, you know, it should be okay.
I don't agree. I think it's a real potential problem, only having two police officers, notwithstanding the skateboard park or American Legion. I think we've been getting very, very lucky, and that could change.
I've been fighting for a school resource officer to be patrolling between the three schools and throughout the town, and for the summer as well, down at American Legion Park, but
Okay. So where are
Go
we?
off
We're-
on a tangent.
We are, the question is, are you guys comfortable voting on the budget
Yes.
as it stands? So, if I may have a motion that we recommend to the town meeting a budget of $29,201,060.
Wait a second. Who's got the pen?
Wow.
All right, which article are we talking about here?
Well, this is Article, hold on.
2, ATM 16-02.
Yeah,
Okay,
ATM
and
16
the number you're talking about is this.
for a total budget of 29 million. It's right there,
I got a $28
$201,060.
million on my paper.
Page 4.
That one. Give me a little tune-up papers. You gonna answer the phone? I found the
Of
number.
all people.
The chair.
There you go.
Probably a telemarketer.
201.
201.
201-060.
Okay. I got the money. Robin made the motion.
I'll second it.
Joe seconded it.
Did you make the motion?
Sure I did.
Oh, okay. It's been moved and seconded to recommend the $29,201,060 to town meeting on Article 16-02. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, the only other two things. Well, first, we would like to, if you're comfortable right now, again, talk about Elm Street, about what we intend to do at Elm Street.
That is not anything here, right?
No.
Okay.
Don't
Put
get
my-
too comfortable.
It isn't, because the town has already voted to appropriate the money. And what has to happen is, and it was voted on at the selectmen's meeting on Monday,
Oh, God, another motion.
is that there will be a ballot question for a
Debt exclusion.
debt exclusion. I couldn't think of the word. For a debt exclusion. But however, I think Mike and you folks would like us to vote on it, to give you our opinion, right?
Yeah, we definitely do. I mean, it's more for the town now than for us, because we just, well, there's two things. One, we certainly want to hear your opinion on it, because it will help sway what, maybe give some influence on our opinion, whether we support it or not. But the biggest thing was just for us to get the town
Right.
to have the opportunity
To vote on it.
to vote on it and give them the information and recommendations.
So Mike, do you want to do the explanation, or?
Yes,
Okay.
Here comes more paper.
more paper.
All right, before we go any further, I have to use the stop.
The selectmen.
This could be lengthy.
I'll leave one for him.
Ballot question actually is, it's on the warrant, but it's listed as question 1 on the front page of the warrant. It's not Article 1, it's question 1. And there's only one question.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And the language is designated by law. Actually, on the ballot, it's gonna be a simple yes/no question. They get check off yes or no. We approved the bond back in 2012, but it was not debt excluded at the time. We voted it the same year at the special town meeting in November, when they approved the $46 million bond for the school, Pembroke School. It was hoped at the time that the town would able to obtain other grants. one that was kicked around at the, and the one that was kicked around at the time was called Safe Routes to Schools. It was federal money that came down through the state. That never materialized. And there was also talk of using Chapter 70 money, Chapter 90 money from the roads. Peter did use that, almost $250,000 to pay for the design of the road.
Engineering,
But 18 million is
1.8.
1.8 million. A lot of people just dropped. 1.8 million was the estimate for the construction costs. So, I passed out the debt service for a 15-year bond at 3.5%. First year would be interest only, no principal payment, and would be due on 2018.
Fiscal year.
Fiscal
Yes.
year.
So it's really,
19, somewhere in there.
No, it would be either 17 or 18.
17 or 18.
17 or 18, yeah.
you're talking next year, not, yeah.
Right.
Just so people know that you're not talking calendar, you're talking fiscal.
Right.
Fiscal.
Fiscal year.
Yeah, okay.
I've included the debt schedule on the second page to show you how, after discussion, lengthy discussion at the selectmen's meeting, they were able to determine that different types of bonds that are actually ending would have a net zero impact on this new bond. You'll notice under FY17, I've circled the landfill area bond for 50,000, actually 51,425, falls off in our last payment is this fiscal year, next fiscal year. So there's nothing, there's that $51,000 available in 2018, and actually, there's another $10,000 bond. So there's a total of $61,675 in bonding that is going away. And we only need 18,000 in that fiscal year. So there's even a net gain with our debt service.
Well, again, the idea is to use that for the fire truck.
Well, it's gonna get us through the first year, this 1 year.
Well, the 18, I don't know, it didn't sound like the fire truck was gonna use up all of the 50, because they said they thought the fire truck would be about 350,000. And how long can you bond it for?
1 year.
So that wouldn't even use up the whole 50, I wouldn't think. So do it for 15 years, whatever. Yeah, but I mean, I would think that 50 would easily cover the fire truck.
But then.
Even by using the 18 out of it.
Yeah, and it should be noted that these two bonds are not debt
Right.
excluded.
Yes, that's right.
So there's room in the levy to not increase the levy, stay within the current levy. Now, the big change is in FY 18, or actually 19, this $251,000 school refunding bond goes away. That is debt excluded, but once again, we would need to have 193 in FY19 for a debt exclusion, but as you see, it decreases every year thereafter. So we have room without, we can take on this extra debt and in effect replacing old debt at a lesser amount. And I don't know off the top of my head the interest rate on that 245, but it's gotta be 6 or 8%. That was taken 20 years ago.
That's right, in the late 90s, yeah.
Maybe just 5 to 6%, I don't wanna, but it's only gonna be 3.5%, so we're gaining interest savings as well.
And that money would just go into the operating budget, right? You know, the savings on a yearly basis? This 245?
No,
No,
but it goes away.
It would just go away.
It's debt excluded.
Oh, balance.
Well,
Our-
what the difference between if this is approved on the ballot, the difference between 193 and 251 would go away.
yeah,
Right.
So the debt excluded amount in our budget would go from 251 in 18 to 193 in 19,
yeah, so the levy would drop,
if it passes,
tax rate would
slightly, a little bit.
have a negative impact on the tax rate.
I just wanted to make sure that, you know, it wasn't 245 that we could just throw into, you know, the town's cash flow.
No,
No.
it's debt excluded, yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Wishful
Be
thinking.
nice.
Better luck to hit the Powerball.
Mm.
So for those reasons, the Board of Selectmen agreed to place it on the ballot, let the voters decide whether it should be debt excluded or not.
So
It just
is there
requires a
also,
50% vote, 51%.
is there also, you know, something that, because I think, you know, a lot of people in town are, you know, going back and forth, okay, there are also other streets and other roads, you know, that need a lot of work as well. Is it something that we could also consider if we didn't do Elm Street, that, okay, instead of doing Elm Street, we're gonna do 8 roads? All right, you know, that are smaller or shorter, and, you know what I'm saying? Can we separate that money into maybe a larger contingency of roads rather than just one very important road?
So Elm Street, the reason why, well, one, I'm supporting this right now, is the town voted that they wanted this done back in 2012, right? So that's the first reason. The reason they wanted it done was there's increased traffic on that road because, from 2 grades being pulled in there. Even without that, and I spoke with the police chief again today, and he told me how it's one of the most unsafe streets that we have.
Excuse me, that's not what he said when he was here that Saturday.
No, I spoke to the chief today. I'm telling you what my conversation was today.
No, I don't doubt that, but I'm shocked. That's not what I got out of the,
Well-
I'm not denying that you're right, but one of the reasons that I was somewhat on the fence about it, because listening to him, he thought it could be put in abeyance. And so I for my own self, I couldn't see why there was a compelling reason to do it.
So the compelling reason is that, again, it's a very unsafe street in town. Yes, there are other unsafe streets in town, but the reason why it's unsafe is because of the grade and the sidewalk, okay? If you walk that sidewalk and you have little kids walking that sidewalk, you'll notice that there is no curb, and parts of there's no, the sidewalk actually abuts the street there as well. There's drainage and water issues that they've been dealing with down there as well. There's entrance and egress issues down there. Getting off out on Route 133 East Main Street is a nightmare in the morning. And the other idea was to fix the dangerous 5 street intersection coming off onto 97 as well. So those are the reasons why. Whether it's not a road repair issue. The road is okay. It could go probably another few more years without anything being done to it. The issue is safety. I talked to a lot of parents out there, and I'm gonna tell you, they won't let their kids walk to school, and because of that, we have a lot more traffic there. So those are the main reasons why the project was done.
That's my understanding too, that the sidewalks are very, very unsafe.
Yeah.
I thought Chief Cudmore, one of the things he said last time was that the sidewalks could be repaired by themselves and be adequate for what we were looking for.
I would highly disagree with that.
You know, I don't know, but I mean, that really isn't his.
That's what was said
purview.
last time. Last time he was here when he
He
was
just,
talking
he
about
just
it.
felt would we be able to postpone it for a year? And I
I
think the
understand.
consensus is it's probably not a great idea.
I understand the sidewalks and the drainage
Yeah.
is required because the drainage now,
It's
the
worse.
catch basins are covered over on the school that runs down the street because there's nothing to tie it to. It's just gonna, so the water just runs down the road. It's gotta go in the catch basins, and there's gotta be drainage put in, cross drainage on the street put in. The sidewalks don't meet ADA requirements. That's the other
Oh, they're a
problem.
mess.
They're a mess. My question to Phil, I guess, is, in Peter's estimate or engineering, is there lights at Elm Street and East Main included in that or not?
I'm not sure, but I believe the current design does not call for lights.
Well, that's part of the problem with that intersection, I think.
But if they did
I
that,
don't wanna,
there'd
I don't
be,
wanna burst
there'd
anybody's
be a
bubble.
block all
Nobody
the way
was waiting
back.
for anybody out
I'm
there.
on West Main Street,
Yeah.
and in the morning when the school's in, I can't get out of my street
Right.
near where Camp Leslie is, and it stretches all the way back up to Trestle Way
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
in one continuous line. You put another traffic light there, you're gonna make it worse.
But what it looks like now, if you watch the people coming in and out of there, it's
Well, what they,
Russian
maybe they
roulette.
should do is reroute the traffic around, if they're gonna fix the corners down the other end, and
Well,
route them
it's-
back up 97.
That was my next question. What are they gonna do with the other intersection at the other end? Is
They
that
are
in
gonna
the-
do work on
is
that
that
other
in
section.
the budget? Is that in
They
the
are.
$1.8
Yeah.
million?
It is. 133, anything with the lights has got to go through the state, right? So there's, the intent is to go back to the state to see what they can do, because it is a state road. That's the only thing they can do. This plan isn't calling for that, because that is a whole fee study, traffic study, and all that fun stuff. It's got to be fixed down there. There's an accident and a serious injury, whether it's the egress on 133 or the sidewalks down there. I mean, look, inevitably, I think this, the town wanted this done. The question is whether we
Oh.
wait, right?
And it's,
The town voted to get this done in the 1.8 to do it.
Right.
The problem is, I don't think it's gonna be enough money to put lights and to relieve the traffic, and get everybody moving in the right direction, and do the study. 1.8 ain't gonna do it.
I'm not opposed to it if it's tax neutral. If it means that it's not gonna increase the burden on the taxpayer, then I'm in support of it. As long as, and I think I have your assurance that it's gonna be neutral.
yes, yeah.
If the estimate, I mean, we haven't gone out to bid,
Yes, I understand that.
and we won't go out to bid. They don't even have their NOI permit from conservation. They're just going to the meeting this April, and provided it's a one meeting permit, which is rare these days for anyone. I'm not picking on conservation, but nobody gets their approvals in one meeting in this town. And once we go out to bid, if it comes in at over $1.8 million, we can't do it.
Now, that's my point. I agree. Let's put it on the ballot and get it, but I don't think
What is
1.8 is
this
gonna do it.
I'm not an engineer.
I don't
You
know.
could be absolutely right. I remember when we first started talking, we were talking a few $100,000, and I thought that was crazy. But I haven't seen the bid documents. I don't know what the
No,
scope.
they don't
of,
exist.
I don't know what the
Yeah,
exact
it's
scope of the project.
I think we're a
is
little ahead of
personally.
ourselves here.
It's just
Can
the
we get-
engineering
Sandy's
estimates.
calling.
Yes,
Is the reason this is so expensive is because of the
Yes, she
sidewalks and the
can.
drainage?
Yeah.
In comparison to doing another road in
I
town
think
that.
so.
So after that discussion, I
Hang
went
on.
and drove around town to look at the roads.
That's it.
I have Sandy Garrity. say hello, Sandy.
Hi.
Sandy wanted to call in.
Hello.
She's sick at home, and she had some comments for us. For the public, Sandy Garrity is
Good
aboard.
evening, everybody.
What's going on, Sandy? What do you have for us?
Well, in talking with Peter Durkee today and talking with the consultant, the project is currently estimated to be coming in at just over 1.8. and we fully expect that those prices come in a little bit lower than that based on oil and paving costs.
Oh, so you said a little over 1.8 million, but the expectation is that could save some money because of the oil and pavement costs?
Yes, and any difference could be made up by Chapter 90 money.
Right. Okay.
Does it include lights?
The difference is very minimal.
Sandy, did you get any questions asked regarding the egresses and entrances on 97 and 133, if that was part of the scope or of this at all?
I don't have that in front of me, but whatever Peter had as an original scope, that is what they were pricing it on.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, to me, if the sidewalks and the drainage are an important part of it, then it should be done for that. You know,
And it's the only entrance for the school.
It'll help pay
yeah,
for it.
You gotta,
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, after the last meeting when we were talking about this, I went around town to look at other roads around town. And if you're just talking about roads, there's other roads that are far worse.
I completely agree.
That's
Oh,
right.
But
yeah.
if we're saying the reason for this is because of safety and a sidewalk
Yes.
issue and
And
drainage,
drainage, it is,
then,
yeah,
then
yeah.
maybe that brings.
It's a different
if you
little
can't- if you-
situation.
You know, again, I think the police chief last time suggested doing just the sidewalks, and that was doable. But if that's not an option to really do it safely, then I guess it puts things in a different
No,
perspective.
I mean, why would you want to do just the sidewalk?
No, I
Well,
think
at some
we
point,
don't
Peter
have
has got to
the-
fix the drainage issue down there.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get this all done at once. He could piecemeal it, and could cost us over a period of years anyhow, or we could do it all in one project. I mean, the other issue too is, remember, two full grades have gone up there. That's another 150 students per grade, or 120 students per grade. And I bet you 30% of them are being driven to school, if not more. And many of the reasons why parents I talk to who don't want their kids driving down there is because the sidewalks.
Sidewalks are
So
so
it's just
bad,
going to
yeah.
continue. Go ahead, Sandy.
Sorry, there's a delay. I can't tell when I can go on.
You can go on.
In regards to the construction, you only want to rip up the road once. Because it'll cost twice as much to do it in pieces. Underneath the road, what a lot of people can't see is the sub-drain and culverts that have already started to collapse and are junk, which is going to just start causing sinkholes in the road. So it isn't just a matter of doing some sidewalks with some curbs, bringing drainage down. It is a far larger issue up and down the whole road.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
And what does this mean for the residents on the street? You know, what are they gonna have to endure yet again, you know, if we do this whole road?
So,
I think most of them want
We
it.
are perfectly
go ahead, Sandy.
we are perfectly happy going through this again because we've already been through 4 years of construction. The road is junk. Our houses have sustained damage in it. We just want the road fixed.
I mean, do we have an estimation of time though?
It's got to be a summer project, right? So the
Yeah, it has to
intent
be.
was to get this project started right after the school year.
Yep.
I don't have the time frame and stuff, but I would imagine that the intent is to get this thing done over the summer. So by the time school starts, it would be completed.
Well, it's a necessity. You have to.
Right. I mean, summer's, they're gonna, you know, the Elm Street residents are gonna have to put up with this over the summer, but they're not gonna have the heavy traffic of the schools as well. So, I mean, it's not a great trade-off, but it'll alleviate some pressure.
The number difference, there was 409 kids there last year.
700.
736.
Yeah, no, I
There's quite a
understand,
few
they're
more.
all up there.
That's,
Which will continue.
yeah, that's a huge increase over there.
Why was this project not actioned 4 years ago when it was approved before the town?
Because we wanted to make sure that all the construction was completed, because the construction vehicles would just beat up that new road if we had done it. Plus, they're already having construction vehicles back and
Right.
forth
No, I
on the road.
understand.
Yeah.
Well, I'm for the project, for safety reasons and because the school population has gone up by 40%.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about the traffic flows, because that will impact me.
Why wasn't since a lot of this road thing was, let's face it, caused by not the sidewalks per se, but was there any opportunity to maybe put this into what the budget was to build the school, since this was a direct?
Oh, no. No,
that
no,
could have
no,
been anything.
We
done.
have?
We tried.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
We
The state
tried.
will pay for,
Even if it was
not only that, but the
non-reimbursable.
grounds. They don't pay much for grounds.
You know, we wanted to just put it all in one bond, but
Oh, when you talk about
MSBA
student
wouldn't
safety,
allow
if
it.
that's what we're talking about
Yeah.
here, then maybe it was a direct, result, that maybe we could have put that in. That's
No,
what,
they
you know,
wouldn't do
I
it.
know it, I know it's
unspent
far fetched,
in
but
school
it is directly
They did
related.
try.
I think they,
As long as we tried, I mean, it would have been
Yeah.
a shame if we didn't
I
try
don't know.
to put that into the
Chairman, we're gonna take a vote on this?
we are. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'll move it.
You ready, Wayne?
Okay, hold on.
I have a second.
What are we moving and what are we?
It's on
And
the
and again,
first
to
page.
reiterate, there's no
Question
tax
one.
consequence at this point to.
That is correct.
Well, let's be clear on that. There's no additional
There's no
tax,
additional tax impact.
right? Because this is an opportunity cost taking away from
Question
from
one,
other things that
okay.
could be paid for.
I got it, I got it.
Say that again?
If I may,
Yes.
what do you call it, Jim? It's not an override.
A
No, no,
debt
no.
Exclusion.
Oh,
It's a
no.
debt exclusion.
That should be falling off and going back to taxpayers. They're gonna put on another debt exclusion. So that's, I guess, where you can somewhat justify there's no increase.
Yeah.
It is an increase, because the other one is falling off. It's just not gonna happen.
Right.
Not gonna see it, but it is
Right.
still
The expected
a debt
decrease will
exclusion
not
happen.
And an increase. in-
We're not increasing people's bills, really. I mean, if you were expecting it to go away, then yeah, it's not going away, but
Right.
we're not increasing. So it's been moved and seconded?
Who seconded?
Oh, he did, so it's moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Other roads in town that need to be done,
That's
where does that come from?
Peter, Peter,
yeah,
and it's
chapter
chapter
90.
90
So he gets funds in
from the state. And
Other- Yeah, like Tenny Street or like Jewett Street.
he has,
He will have
he
those
has a
funds.
list of streets and when he
And he said this
intends
was
to
on
do.
that list, but it
Right.
just wasn't on the list for now
Right,
to do
but
that.
that's just the street part, I guess.
So if the funds come from another he gets them from the state to do these other roads?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't this be done from money from the state versus money from
The state doesn't give us money specifically for a road. They give you a certain amount of money every year.
Based on the
And
roads.
there's too much. This is
the
too big.
mileage of public roads.
This is too big a project. You would have to wait 10 years and not do anything else.
So because the cost of this is higher because of the drainage and the
The drains and the
sidewalks,
sidewalks.
whereas other roads
Just be paved.
will be paid for. And this one wouldn't fall into that.
No, because it's just too much, there's too much money.
What do we usually get for chapter 90 for
It's
290,000 a year?
Between 300 and 350.
300, 350. There
Thanks,
you go.
Sandy.
so it's
Per
just
year.
enough to pay for
Still
parking
there.
lot?
Yes.
So it's usually enough to fix some of the
Yeah, to fix a
roads,
few
but not
roads.
for something like
Right,
this.
right. Okay, is that it?
Thank you.
Are we ready?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Aye.
Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah.
We didn't count her.
We're not counting
Count
that.
Sandy, you can counter vote.
Sandy, you want to stay on? I'll keep you on.
Uh,
What else is, what else?
yeah, the only other thing I was gonna bring up here is,
7 Sandy.
is that Article 1620
Article 6.
that we didn't vote on at all, actually. It's the article about hunting in the conservation areas.
Okay, so whose toes did I step on the last
No,
time?
no, it's not that. It's just that apparently Don Cudmore has done a lot of looking at it. And first of all, you wouldn't have to go to the commission. They would designate somebody, and the Concom would be Steve Brzezinski. You would have to go to him. And the other thing, as I understand it, and I heard this from Mike, is that there are, because of the way some of the conservation land was purchased, A lot of them you can't hunt on anyway because of restrictions in how it was purchased.
So they would have to come here the few
On
hours
specific,
that
that's right,
Steve's
on
working.
for specific, and I don't know which ones they are, but for specific conservation areas that do allow hunting, that you can legally hunt on it, they would have to come and get permission. Now, if you're not willing to vote on that, then that is fine.
We're all just sitting here looking.
I thought we said we
This is
weren't.
just to add another permit.
It has no financial impact.
It has no financial,
So why are we talking?
you don't have
We're gonna
to.
get ourselves in trouble with, just like we
I-
got
with
that-
everybody.
We're gonna get another
I
letter
don't, I
from
don't
someone.
see anybody's very interested, so,
I
I mean,
just-
that's all I have. Mike, are you?
I'm good.
Good. Motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Motion to adjourn.
So, I don't think, the only thing